So I was watching this show. I don't know if it's interesting stuff. There's a show called Young Sheldon. Have you
Oh
seen
yeah,
that?
is it from Big Bang Theory?
It's the Big Bang Theory prequel.
Like
It's
prequel.
about
No, I haven't seen Big Bang Theory or Young Sheldon.
I mean these it's pretty good. So it's about the guys, the weird guy in the show in Big Bang
Hmm.
Theory, Sheldon, his childhood. So he was a genius. So he starts college when he's 11. Of course, there's a professor who takes him in. He was attending the professor's classes without even getting into college. And then in the end, the college says, we want to admit you here, as a student. So he starts college. And anyway, he comes up with an idea to create a database, and he's pitching the idea to different scientists. So the moral of the story is this crazy idea. He goes to his professor. He says, what do you say if I take this idea to everybody, to all the other academics? And he says, oh no, that's a very bad idea. And he says, why? They are scientists, aren't they? And they are also in physics and mathematicians. And he says, no, 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 they will all make fun of you. And and they'll say you are wrong. But if you go to mathematicians, they will not only tell you are wrong, but they will also prove it.
Oh, nice.
So math has that 0-1 approach, right? So it's two
Right.
plus two. We say it. So when we
Yeah.
but what I want to know is how come somebody who is into math so much ends up in HR?
Uh, well, my degree in college was in Bible, so it wasn't the. I got my degree in biblical studies. Thought I wanted to be like a youth pastor, and then was hanging out with junior hires and realized this is not for me. I can't handle these junior hires. And so then I tried to get a job in like the secular world and had no employable skills outside of public speaking. And so that was how I ended up in HR. Just doing corporate training, just a lot of teaching and training. It wasn't overall. I mean, it was a pretty good job. I loved my boss. He really invested in me, and yeah, overall that was a great, wonderful job and great experience. But it was trapped in a cubicle with bright fluorescent lights and no
Uh,
windows
that's
scenario.
not. I
Yeah.
can. So, anybody else? You have any brothers, sisters? Anybody else in the family like you with numbers?
Yeah, I got with numbers, I got two older sisters. One is like she's just smart in general. So she, did well in math and stuff, but she had to like study. That's the other thing is like I never studied for any of these things. Like outside of like obviously like when you're first learning it, but I didn't have to like after you go over the lesson, for me at least, it was like once the lesson's taught, I was like, makes sense. And then I would just like, never have to review it again just because to me, if it made, and the same was with physics when I took physics AP, I didn't have to remember that like force equals mass times acceleration. I didn't have to like memorize that formula because I could like just think through conceptually like what makes sense. Like and like just play with my like push my hands when I'm applying the force. I'm like kind of accelerating. Like you just think through it, until it all makes sense and
Yeah.
figure stuff out. So I mean that's just the way my brain has always worked. Is that like if things click and make sense, then it sticks. If things don't make sense to me, then like it doesn't stick. So in general, my memory is pretty bad on a lot of things. But at least like if there is something that makes sense to me, it's just like got it, understand it, don't need to review it anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously you found your place, so that's what matters, right? So that those jobs that you do, it's not really, it's a job, but not your career. So this is your career, obviously.
Yeah, and yeah, when it got into the Amazon space, I realized how um yeah, I realized how I don't know if easy is the right word to use, how possible it was to really excel and really exceed clients' expectations because I realized there's a big demand for like PPC managers and really low supply. And it seems to me that a lot of agencies are, can't grow fast enough, can't scale fast enough to meet all these especially since 2020, right? With when that really forced a lot of businesses on into the e-com side of things. And because they can't grow and hire fast enough and train fast enough, they're forced to hire underexperienced or underqualified PPC managers. And then they're also forced to rely super heavily on automation tools that are going to basically handle all of the bidding optimization for them. And I'm someone who's never wanted to do any kind of bid automation. I think there's a lot of reasons why manual can outperform automation. And so that's always been my biggest passion. So whenever I take on a new client and I just take them from having an underqualified manager where everything was automated with very little managerial input and oversight, and I just start managing bids manually through like the ways that we just discussed, and they see that their sales their ACOS instantly comes down and while their sales are going up, and they thought that was impossible because all their life they've been told you can't have ACOS come down and sales go up simultaneously. And it's like, oh, it happens. Like, it's really cool. And it's a really good feeling to be helping real people.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was just gonna say to you. It's knowing numbers, liking numbers, working with numbers is one thing, but you have jumped into running your own business, an entrepreneur. That's a whole different world.